Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about The Little Mermaid from 2023. I typically don't really like the Disney live action remakes because, they're not good, let's be real. They're trying to recapture something that I don't really need to recapture. I can just watch that original movie, and they often feel like, at best, bad covers, at worst, really insulting covers with extra detail for those people who nitpick Disney movies because their kids watch them a lot and then go, oh, Belle's mom probably died of the plague and that should be in the movie for some reason, and all sorts of stuff like that. But I think this actually turned out to be one of the better ones, especially of the live action remakes of the Disney Renaissance films, because it's actually trying to be its own thing, which is something I've been asking for every movie that's not Pete's Dragon that is an actual good movie. And that wasn't a fully animated one, so I don't know if that counts or not. But the rest of them that are all actual animated movies and are all varying degrees of horrible and inconsequential to the larger culture, as most of the time we fucking forget about these things entirely after they come out. This one actually kind of works way better than I thought it would, and as much as at the beginning I felt like, oh, this is like the rest of them, I was kind of actually into it, and I felt like it was actually trying to do something with the star Halle Bailey and even the actors playing Prince Eric, and trying to actually do different things with it, which was fun to watch. I was surprised. I like these co-stars and I like them together, and I want to see their romance bloom, which is a major part of the film, obviously. But then it's also trying to fight, being a Disney live action remake the entire time, and it kind of can't fight that at all because it has to acknowledge the animated film. It has to do exact dialogue exchanges from the original film, which is really obnoxious because I know all of them, and I did just watch and review the original, but it's hard to not think about it when they're bringing it up constantly. It's really frustrating. It feels like this movie is fighting itself in terms of quality, and I'm not exactly understanding of who the winner is in all of this, other than Disney continuing to dominate, I guess. The artistic merits of this has always been murky, other than just corporate movie or whatever. And I think in some ways this is the best of the Hollywood machine and the absolute fucking worst of it. And it manages to sort of get that to work, even though it is sort of fighting itself for its own soul. And I don't know if it ever really figures that out entirely, what it's trying to do with this, but at least Rob Marshall and everyone involved sort of tried to give it a little bit of, at least I feel like they at least tried to give it a little bit of something. Little Mermaid is sort of the plot of the original Little Mermaid, but they had some complications to it. That's the plot. Ariel wants to be human, she wants to go upstairs, she sends to Ursula. They hit all the beats from the movie, and they add a bunch of extra junk. That's the plot, basically. But one thing, before this came out, I was very much pro Halle Bailey and being a star in this, because we don't often get new movie stars, especially young ones, positioned in such a way that she is. And I was actually really for that, because we honestly sort of need more movie stars, and we don't really ever consider doing that. Even though we put people in superhero movies, it never sort of works out that way, unless you're Chris Pratt for some reason. I don't really get that one, but whatever. But I thought this was kind of old school, when they'd celebrate a big movie star in the old Hollywood sense with Deborah Carr is a star kind of thing. That's what they're doing. They're positioning her to be a big star. I actually like that, because you look at a film even the Aladdin remake, I know that guy got canceled or whatever, but he's a good example where those films, I heard a lot of people talk about the people who played Aladdin and Jasmine, and then I don't what happened to them, basically, especially the guy who played Aladdin. So I like that they were actually doing something with this casting, and it seemed like they were positioning her, and she's going to be in the Color Purple musical that comes out later this year, and it seems like she's going to have a movie career, and she's incredibly captivating and 100% got the role of Ariel. She got the innocence of that character, which I think is key to it. She got the inquisitiveness, but also she has these really big eyes, and I feel the emotion she can pour through those, it feels sort of equally smart way to have someone who is playing someone who is formerly animated. I think that works very well. Even her Part of Your World was great. At first I didn't love it because she's really like belting and like singing and like doing all this stuff, and Part of Your World is more of like a communicative song, like you're supposed to understand lyrics and the emotion and stuff. And it occurred to me afterwards is so many people don't want someone else playing Ariel or being just outright hateful and racist, all those things. And Part of Your World is kind of the linchpin of the whole movie. You don't want to sell Part of Your World, this movie doesn't work. That's just like, if you're going to do the Disney version, that's just a fact. That performance in my mind was not just to sell the song in the movie, it was also to prove her as a star and to go, yes, I deserve to play this part. And after that, I was like, yeah, no, this is her movie at this point. So I think she had more context in there that people might not understand. I do think it works in the overall film, but I think the context that, you know, you need to sell this role, do you have the talent to do it? And I would say, yeah, she does. It's not like my favorite Part of Your World, but I think it'd be really hard to see this, and you know, people were like clapping when I saw it and stuff, so like people were super into it. So but you do get kind of caught up in that moment. But at first I was like not sure, but even sort of towards the end I was like, okay, I sort of get what she's doing here. I think she was really great. I think her charisma with Jonah Hauer-King was actually good. Like they had like stuff in common. I thought like that was like, if you're going to do these things, and people love to nitpick the Disney films, I'm like, well, they don't acknowledge this, they don't acknowledge that, and I'm like, well, you don't understand how storytelling works, so maybe shut the fuck up. And you explain that really well by adding all these stupid ass details to whatever you're doing. Because I've heard so many weird complaints about this remake. I'm like, why didn't I add this detail? I'm like, why would it? Why would anyone want the slave trade in the Little Mermaid movie? I don't understand how that's like a complaint. I'm like, how would that even fit? Do you know how stories work? Like, they should maybe make a different thing about that, not like have a scene where they acknowledge it and go away. Is that what you want? Like, I don't. But I did like in that, like, they built a relationship and they had stuff in common where like exploring and understanding the world, and like they were like kind of interested in each other and more like over their minds and like hang out, and like you sort of got that more. And I thought they had great chemistry together, actually, that I really liked those two. But I did feel like this film would constantly undermine them, and even Melissa McCarthy, and Javier Bardem is just sort of like there and basically just does the lines from the animated movie. So I'm glad he got that paycheck. Good for him, I guess. What happened with Halle Bailey when she becomes human, spoilers, I guess, she has this song in her head, and it reminded me of in Aladdin, the live action remake of Aladdin, where they pause the movie so Jasmine can do like a song like that she has girl power and stuff. And like that was real bad. It's really bad. And this is equally as bad because like my face when that part came out was like, what the fuck? Like I was just like, it's like somebody farted real bad in the theater with a candy, and I was like, what? Like if anyone saw me, they probably thought I was joking, because it was just like such a bad idea, and they bring it back twice like randomly. It really doesn't work. I don't know who came up with that. It's like, did Lin-Manuel Miranda, who does new music for this, insist on that? It was a really horrible moment, and actually I think just ruins her performance for a little bit, because she could be doing like this stuff with like without dialogue. We have to wait a while to get to there because they have to like do this fucking song. Like I already know she can sing. We did the Part of Your World thing. Like what is this? The thing with this movie, the flow is just like so odd and like just really doesn't work. But then Melissa McCarthy is basically just doing Ursula from the animated film, and then she like has moments where she gets to be her, and then you're like, oh, okay, all right, she wanted to maybe do more, but the movie just like doesn't let her. I'm also like, then why cast like anyone? Like what's the point if you're just gonna like regurgitate this shit? Like I don't understand. And it sort of stinks, because I think she could have probably done more with it. It seemed like she was having fun. She's a really talented actress, and I thought she could have done more with it. And that like the whole movie, like they're just like, well, we have to do Under the Sea, and like they don't change the fact that like the song refers to like actual fish in the animated part, and they just like don't cut to those fish, so they're just like singing lyrics because they have to, which doesn't really work. And same with like Kiss the Girl. I noticed a similar problem when live action's Beauty and the Beast thing, because the point of Be Our Guest is to be like, haha, the joke is like they really want to entertain people, and like it's going to be the success of hopefully Berkeley think is they're overcompensating, haha, joke. And when they do Kiss the Girl, they don't have like the frogs come up with the oar, which is like the joke. Like Sebastian is just supposed to do this subtle thing, and it goes like completely insane, and it's like that's like sort of the joke. And when you're a kid, you don't get that, I think, because people's comfortability with both those scenes, they sort of lose that joke in a sense. But in this, it's like they just have like Scuttle and Flounder and Sebastian do it. It's like it doesn't really work as well, and it's not done in an artistic way where you're like, oh yeah, it sort of makes sense. You're probably more like, oh, Disney already spent a lot of money on this, and like, hey, there's certain aesthetic things I like it showed the depths of the ocean and certain things. I thought that was actually really cool. That was an interesting way to take it. In other sense, like they would have Ariel like swim up from the CG world that's under the water and then come up, and like it would not match very well. And I was like, is this like, what's going on? Like I was a little shocked at how badly matched those two shots were. Like I was like, did they still let you do this shit? Like I didn't know. I was a little shocked at the ineptitude. They don't do that a lot, and I noticed they like cut around it in various ways after that, but there were a couple times like it felt like they just like there was no way around it, and they're just like, well, it's gonna look like shit, here we go. And if you ever seen 10 Commandments by Cecil B. DeMille, there's certain shots where like it's like set location, weird projection thing, and it like sometimes really doesn't work. And like if you look at films like I think Lord of the Rings was really great at this, where they'll have like 5 shots in a row that like you can tell were not done at the same time. And they'll have to acknowledge the hobbits and the CG shot and this shot, and then the camera's doing this and all this stuff. And it's like thrilling to watch if you know what they're doing. But like it all matches really well. Like you never watch Lord of the Rings and don't think the flow's messed up. And there's plenty of times in this where suddenly you're like, wait, what the fuck? And it like really, I don't know what's going on. It feels, I'm very curious like how often Disney clamps down on these things, because this really feels like a big corporate thing, and like that they like make it be these certain things. I think there is a better movie in here, and I think sometimes with the sets and everything, it gives this like interesting appeal. I can see kids sort of actually falling in love with this and talking about it in 10 years. Now, will they probably talk about the animated one that's like a lot better and like actually influential and, you know, brought on the Disney Renaissance and economically, storytelling wise, works a lot better? Sure, yeah, that's not really going away, and I'm sure in 5 years we'll forget this movie happened to a certain extent, but at least they like tried. And that's good, I guess. I don't think they really tried. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but watching the movie, it really just feels like they continuously give up. They just sort of give up and just do the thing. And it's like, if they're going to do a shot-for-shot remake, I'd probably respect it a lot more. I thought this did a better job, but it's essentially like fighting itself. And the system and the genre and the whatever studio that just the Disney live action remakes is, I know it's run by the same guy and stuff, whatever the fuck this is just so counterintuitive to actually making a good movie. It's just like, it's more about like acknowledging Disney and acknowledging these criticisms and making it more quote unquote realistic. I mean, guys, we have like a fucking fish girl falling in love with the prince of like a kingdom. We don't even know what the fuck it is. Where her like, you know, aunt who's an octopus or something. It's just like what are we doing? I don't understand the purpose of that. And like, it doesn't, no little kid is gonna like be like, oh, you have to do this to fall in love and we've cured this Disney princess thing. It's just like you're not really doing what you think you are. I don't think this accomplishes the messages it's trying to do. But did I like the 2 young leads? Did they sell that very well? And when that movie becomes that, and when it is its own thing, does it work a lot better? Yes, except for Scuttlebutt. That was absolutely horrible. If Lin-Manuel Miranda's like, why am I not cool anymore? You can just play Scuttlebutt. Like, you don't even need to why does the internet not like me anymore? Just like listen to Scuttlebutt. It's like I've never heard such a career-ruining song. And I liked Hamilton, but like Scuttlebutt, Jesus. And why does Daveed Diggs have a thick accent in this, where you have actual people with that accent in this movie? Like, I hope he wasn't on set, 'cause Jesus, like, can we just get like a reggae artist like to actually do Under the Sea? Like, I'm sure there's plenty. Bob Marley has a couple kids who make music still. Like, there's a lot of reggae. I don't know the genre super well, but like there are enough like pretty impactful reggae artists who could do it. I mean, Shaggy did in the live action remake. I would prefer Shaggy to this. Like, he was very bad, and I usually like him a lot. My daughter saw this with my wife, and her daughter saw it with her friends, and she had a great time. And I hope lots of little kids have a good time with this. I do think this will probably have a little more staying power because of Halle Bailey, because of the actual original parts in this, and I hope the Disney live action remakes continue to put actual like thought into expanding the stories and doing different things with it. Because like, why else do I need to watch this? And I think why these things have been forgotten, unless we talk about, like, unless we're talking about Disney live action remakes, they never come up. Have you ever referenced these things? Like, I don't think, like, ever. Like, just like, I don't get like what the fuck this is. Like, they just feel like this like self-contained, apathetic kind of bucket of forgottenness. It's just really, really a horrible genre. But I do think this like showed a better example of how you can get that to work, but it fighting itself is a hard watch every time. And I just like, I always feel stupid making these. I feel like it's just me complaining when I make these videos. That's why like sometimes when they just go to streaming, I just sort of don't talk about them. But I have no problem with Halle Bailey. I also, you know, I'm a redhead and my kids have red hair and stuff. If I don't have a problem with it, I don't understand what you're doing. She was really good. I thought she was a great choice. She more than proved herself. She's going to be a big star if she chooses the right roles and stuff like that. And she more than proved herself in this movie several times. And I look forward, I hope I'm reviewing more movies from her in the future. And I don't know why Prince Eric looked like he was going to cry all the time. I was like, what's going on with that? But I don't know if I understand the purpose of this. And I don't know, even think the director or the studio or anyone involved fully understood the purpose of it. But I think they tried to. And that's more than I can say for Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, all those other ones. Maybe like Dumbo had an actual point to it. But this one, I felt like they tried, and they really kind of, it felt like there was something more there if they had let it. Unfortunately, they like don't, which I think stinks, because there was like, I thought she was giving a real star-making performance in this movie, was sort of fighting it in a sense, which I thought was like with the song in her head and with this and with that. It's just really unfortunate. But, and same with Melissa McCarthy. But I think like overall, I think this is a better one of the live action remakes. I don't like these things. I don't think they should exist. I think we can just watch the animated ones. If this is kind of a better path for them as the beginning of something better, I'm for that. But I just wish these movies wouldn't have to acknowledge the Disney thing so much, because it sort of like highlights its irrelevance to a much better movie that already has a lot of influence. I think this movie really tries to be more than that, and I actually appreciate that as a viewer. I think overall it doesn't fully do that, but I liked it a lot more. And I do think if I'm going to ever rank the Disney live action remakes, which sounds like a really horrible thing to do, I would actually say maybe this is the one after Pete's Dragon, which is like always number one. I feel like this is probably the best one I've seen of those, and I think it's because it felt like they cared. It felt like they were trying to do something. If this whole genre or whatever this is fails them, ultimately it is the genre's fault and not this movie's, and it's unfortunate that it has to be a part of this. I wish it had a much more talented director who wanted to make a really good Little Mermaid movie, but instead we have Disney's Little Mermaid, and I'm glad that Halle Bailey was able to perform her way out of that and still make a star-making performance despite this movie itself. So if you've seen The Little Mermaid and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.